Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we're going to be talking about all of the players that we all should be keeping an eye on for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers preseason Week 1 matchup versus the Miami Dolphins. Folks, Tampa Bay Buccaneers football is back in some way, shape, or form, and man, oh man, it feels really exciting. By the way, I will be live streaming my reactions to the game here at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, so stay tuned for that. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and dive into some of these players that I feel we all should be keeping an eye on in this preseason Week 1 matchup. The first player that is on this list, and arguably the biggest player on this list, is quarterback Kyle Trask. And, we've talked about Kyle Trask throughout the entirety of this offseason, so I know that this topic has been talked about to death, but I need to reiterate some of these points here. This is a big preseason game for Kyle Trask. Really, the entirety of this preseason is going to be huge for Kyle Trask, right? This is potentially a make it or break it preseason for Trask as to whether or not he can or cannot be the future franchise quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers moving forward. So yeah, you bet that we need to pay attention to Kyle Trask. He figures to be getting a lot of playing time in this preseason game, with Tom Brady being away from the team right now and the Buccaneers already knowing what they have in backup quarterback Blaine Gabbert. You imagine that there is going to be a healthy amount of snaps going the way towards Kyle Trask in this preseason game, which is totally expected. He will have a better cast around him in terms of playmakers than he has had in last year's preseason. So let's pay attention to Trask. Let's see how he's been able to grow and develop from year 1, now going into year number 2. It is going to be a huge indicator as to how he is potentially going to be in terms of his future for the Buccaneers moving forward. But the next couple of players that I have on this list are mainly basically every single player from the most recent Tampa Bay Buccaneers draft class. Logan Hall, how is he going to do? He is a guy who had a lot of excitement going into this training camp. Then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers signed a guy like Akeem Hicks, and I feel like a lot of people forgot about Logan Hall, which is a darn shame because Logan Hall can be a very effective pass rusher for this Buccaneers team moving into this upcoming season, starting in this preseason game. He's got the same length as a Will Golson, and he's got some really darn good pass rushing ability as well, folks. And you figure with Will Golson and Akeem Hicks being veterans, they possibly won't play at all in this game, especially in the case of Akeem Hicks. I don't imagine him playing at all. Will Golson might play a little, but also wouldn't surprise me if he didn't play at all either, which means, again, much like in the case of Kyle Trask, there are a lot of good opportunities here for Logan Hall to showcase his abilities with a good bit of talent around him against the Miami Dolphins, and I'm going to be pumped up to see how he can do as a pass rusher and as a defensive lineman as a whole. Yeah, I'm probably a little bit biased, but all in all, I'm going to be pumped up to see how Logan Hall does. Similar thing for Luke Gedeke, the glass eater on that offensive line has been a little bit quiet so far in this training camp, but he does have a good chance to build up some good momentum for himself in that starting left guard battle where he's going up against guys like Aaron Stinney and Nick Leverett. Maybe this is a chance for Luke Gedeke to really build up some momentum for himself. And, I will throw a guy like Nick Leverett in there as well. I imagine that he is going to be getting a decent amount of playing time in this game, and he has had a fantastic training camp, by the way, so pay attention to Nick Leverett as well. Rachaad White, let's talk about him for a second. How is he going to be as a 3-down back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this game? You figure veterans like Leonard Fournette and possibly Giovanni Bernard are not going to be playing in this game. That leaves you with a running back room of Rachaad White, Keyshawn Vaughn, and Kenyon Barner, and Rachaad White figures to possibly get the most snaps out of all three of those guys in this game. I'm pumped up to see Rachaad White. He has that dog in him, and I think that he could be very effective in this game, both as a runner and as a receiving back. I also have Keyshawn Vaughn on there as well for not necessarily super positive reasons, but we need to start seeing some improvement from Keyshawn Vaughn at this point in his career. He is another one of those guys who may be in a make it or break it type of situation where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers say, hey, we can use Vaughn moving forward as a strong rotational back, or saying, hey, this isn't working out, we're going to go with Giovanni Bernard, Rachaad White, and Leonard Fournette. Sorry, Keyshawn Vaughn, you may be out of town, you may be the fourth guy on the roster, who knows what's going to happen at that point. But if it ever does get to that point, point being is this: Keyshawn Vaughn does have a good amount of things to prove in this first preseason matchup. Let's see if he's able to rebound on certain things, such as his receiving ability and also some of those other aspects that he needs to make himself a more complete back. Another rookie is Cade Otton. Recent 4th-round draft pick of this most recent NFL draft, has been really solid so far throughout the training camp and really throughout the offseason as a whole, to where some people are questioning, hey, can he push veterans like Cam Brate and Kyle Rudolph for potentially playing time in this upcoming season? I think it all starts here in the preseason. If he is going to be able to continue to build that momentum that he has made for himself in training camp, that's nothing but a good thing for Cade Otton here moving forward. So let's see if he's able to do so with guys like Kyle Trask and possibly Ryan Griffin as well, throwing him the football. Zion McCollum, again, I could pretty much name every single rookie from the Buccaneers draft class here, but Zion McCollum is another guy worth paying attention to. You figure Carlton Davis, Jamel Dean, Sean Murphy-Bunting probably aren't going to be getting a lot of playing time. That's where a guy like Zion McCollum has come in. He's been relatively quiet throughout training camp, hasn't made too many splash plays here or there, but he does figure to get a healthy amount of snaps in this game. We all know how much of a freak athlete McCollum is. He's also gotten a very good amount of praise from guys like Todd Bowles, and especially Carlton Davis as well, which is always a good thing when your number one cornerback is giving the rookie some praise. So I'm excited to see how McCollum does, just to really see that freakish athleticism as well. And, another guy I want to throw in there is veteran Ross Cockrell. He has had a great training camp so far. He's going to be playing a little bit of corner, a little bit of safety. He's actually listed as a safety right now on the Buccaneers depth chart. Will that be the case in this preseason game? Who knows? We will just have to wait and see. That is also worth paying attention to. But a couple of more things I've got here, folks. Jose Borregales and Jake Camarda. Those guys are going to be worth paying attention to. We already know what the Buccaneers have in Ryan Succop, but Jose Borregales has really been giving Succop a run for his money in this kicking battle throughout the entirety of training camp. These guys have not missed, or they very rarely have missed, I guess I should say. I think they've missed like 4 or 5 field goals together combined throughout the entirety of this training camp. That is crazy. And yeah, this is where that battle is going to get even more intense with these preseason games. I imagine they're going to give Borregales a lot of opportunities because, again, they already know what they have in a guy like Ryan Succop, so they want to see possibly how Borregales does in game time situations. I'm sure a lot of Bucs fans feel the same way about that. Let's see if he does get those opportunities here in preseason week 1. Jake Camarda, the Buccaneers' new punter. The team got rid of Bradley Pinion. He is now on the Falcons. They also got rid of Sterling Hoffrichter. He's now on the Dolphins, which is a little bit of a revenge game for him, I suppose. And now you have Jake Camarda, who I will say, in terms of punting, has been really, really good throughout training camp. That dude has got some hang time on his punts, folks. I know this sounds dumb to some people because, it's special teams. But you guys know I enjoy myself some special teams play, and I am going to be excited to watch not just Jose Borregales, but also, very much so, Jake Camarda. The dude has got an absolute cannon for a leg. And by the way, people forget, the man runs a 4.4 40-yard dash. He is going to be racing down there after he punts the football. That's going to be a good thing to see. Special teamers like Grant Stewart and Zach Triner are usually the first couple of guys that are down the field after the punt is made. You might have to throw Jake Camarda in that mix as well, folks. I'm really pumped up to see the young punter from Georgia on this team and how he performs in this game. Hopefully you don't have to see him too much, but with these preseason backups being the way they are, I imagine they'll have at least a couple of punts in this game. And finally, folks, the last thing I want to mention here is basically every receiver that is not one of the established veteran starters at this point. I'm talking about guys like Cyril Grayson, Brashad Perriman, if he does play. Right now it seems doubtful that he will play. I'm talking about Tyler Johnson, Scotty Miller, all of the undrafted free agents, Devin Tompkins, Jarrett Stearns, Kalen Geiger, Vincent Smith. Who else is on that list? There's a couple of other wide receivers on that list that I know I am missing right now, but you guys get what I'm saying. There are a lot of wide receivers. Jalen Darden. How could I forget about Jalen Darden? There are so many wide receivers battling for like 2 roster spots right now, and it has been a very intense battle. Folks, some good wide receivers are going to get cut by the Bucs after this preseason, and that's a darn shame because these guys are putting in some work. I know a lot of people have been very interested and invested in guys like Tyler Johnson and guys like Scotty Miller, but I also wouldn't count out established veterans like Brashad Perriman or Cyril Grayson if they are able to get some playing time moving forward. Also, you never know with some of these rookies, undrafted guys. You have Devin Tompkins, who's shown some pretty decent things. Cameron Brown has shown a couple of really interesting things as well. You have another veteran in Vincent Smith. Yeah, there's just a lot of guys, folks. There's just a lot of guys out there trying to make plays. Devin Tompkins, Kalen Geiger, guys up and down. Jarrett Stern, so many wide receivers, folks. So many wide receivers. I just rattle off all the names as much as I possibly can. Those guys are all going to be battling in this first preseason game. I imagine we're going to see a pretty healthy amount of them in some way, shape, or form. So let's just see which guys are able to separate themselves from the pack and build some good momentum for themselves moving forward. But folks, that's all I got for this video. Let me know your thoughts and opinions about all the players that I mentioned down in the comment section below. I would love to hear them. What are some of the other players that you guys are all going to be keeping an eye on in this upcoming preseason matchup? I would love to hear it. Again, don't forget, 7 p.m. Eastern Time this Saturday night, I will be going live with my preseason Week 1 reactions live stream. So stay tuned for that, folks. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.